I've been having state reps, one or two on every day for the last few weeks on the weekday show. And most of them are military veterans. They're totally aware. They know all the PDDs. They know about the FEMA camps. But again, all this is now in mainstream news as well. It's just that those of us warning got laughed at, and now we're not being laughed at. Now understand, this is not the U.S. government. Foreign offshore banks have taken full control. We're in receivership now. It's in the IMF and World Bank documents I wrote about in my book, Descent into Tyranny, in 2002. We predicted 2008, 2009. So much of this is such a big planning operation, it's not hidden. The intelligence was all around us, and then by going and covering these events, a lot of it fell into our hands. And by talking to police chiefs and emergency managers, some who had allowed them in, they told us foreign troops were involved, like Jack D. Compton, Alice, Texas police chief, who was former DEA himself. It goes on and on. Now, they're going to stage the riots. They're going to have the locals stand down. The FEMA is going to jam police communications. This is one of their plans, to let the riots get bad, then the military will come in, fix everything, that'll set the precedent. Well, hey, this is a good thing. So, see, there's lots of psyops built into this, and I want to go back to Doug Williams, who's writing for the Daily Newscaster in his story, FEMA DHS Preparing for Mass Graves and Martial Law Near Chicago. Anything you want to add to the points I was just making, and then finish up with the question I gave you about if this does go, people resisting?
Well, I think a lot of people in the military will resist. It all depends on how it plays out. Now, here's my hope. My hope is that we can cut this off by exposing the information, by forcing these people, FEMA, the DHS, force these people out into the open, make them answer questions, find out what they're doing, why they're doing it, and why they're not doing it in public. And then maybe we can change things, because, a lot of people that want to question your information or my information, they say, well, you're not telling us when it's going to happen. Well, let me tell you, from being in that position, no one knows when it's going to happen at this point. It's not about knowing when. It's about being prepared.
A phone call is made that says launch the operation, and there's probably only 10 guys in the National Security Council aware of it, and then they go with the go date, then it happens.
That's correct. There's a chain of command, and everybody below that chain of command, they don't know. They're given generalities enough to do their mission.
But do you agree, I've seen them do this in third world countries, that they're first going to have a rollout to set the precedent where the troops come out, they fix everything, now the precedent's set?
Well, that's part of what happened in New Orleans when the 82nd went there. It really hurt me to see that happen. I was really disappointed.
The gun confiscation?
Yeah, I was disappointed to see those guys on the street.
And that was their first blood. That was training them to confiscate the guns. Now, finally here, I want to encourage you to come back on the weekday show so we can spend more time and let you have a chance to flesh this out, because I really respect your knowledgeable opinion on this, Mr. Williams. But I also want to challenge FEMA workers, county, city people around the country listening right now on AM, FM, shortwave, internet, satellite, to email my producer, Joey V, at Infowars.com, to CC it to Aaron with 2 A's at Infowars.com. And we're good at keeping your anonymity if that's what you want, but this is the time the country needs you. I just go public. You're allowed, as an American, to expose this so more of you can come out, because you're right, Mr. Williams. If we expose this, then they lose the element of surprise, and they won't be able to get away with it.
Well, they just won't be able to have the same results. It just, they won't be able to control opinion. They won't be able to. It's a production. It's a performance. And if you ruin the performance, if you tell the magician's trick before he does it, it simply doesn't have the same effect on the audience.
We're in a life and death info war, and Mr. Williams, 90% of war is info war.
Absolutely. And, people should not discount open source intelligence. 90% of all intel is open source. It's just about digging and getting the information. It doesn't have to be super secret or something only a few people know. Usually those secrets, usually there's nothing there or nothing to those at all.
Well, yeah, because they'll have 20 battle plans. What you can't miss is the overall architecture and the system. I mean, when I went and videotaped Marines in Hebron, Maryland, or Oakland, California, training to confiscate guns with role players screaming, "I'm an American, please don't take my guns," I mean, right there we know what this is. One other key point. Who's watched C-SPAN the last year? Every time FEMA's up speaking, it's generals in uniform in the FEMA positions now.
That's what really concerns me is the senior officers that seem to be they seem to have a different program. They seem to be involved in something that I don't recognize from my years of service.
Well, I told everybody they were going to build up the anti-terror apparatus in the name of fighting al-Qaeda, that they would then announce white al-Qaeda, which CNN and Fox have done, and claim that all Americans could be al-Qaeda. And it's now happened. They're swinging the whole apparatus around against the people and training police that the American people are the enemy. And the Army admits they're preparing to, quote, engage the American people during insurrection. And PDD 51 says, and the John Warren Defense Authorization Act's really the big one, says that the governors are just puppets and serve as dual-headed officers of the federal government, and that Congress doesn't. Congress wants to see the full text of PDD 51 for now a year, Mr. Williams, and they won't show it to Congress.
Well, times are urgent. 20 years ago, 25 years ago, these types of things were just not even something that could be considered. The idea of Northcom existing would have been abhorrent. You know, that's not something we talked about. We used to sit around and in a formal way discuss the Geneva Conventions and discuss posse comitatus. We weren't even allowed to wear our battle dress uniforms off the fort.
Well, that's it. And now Northcom is in operational command over the United States as a war zone, and the entire infrastructure of face scanning cameras, FEMA bunkers, is all under Colorado Springs, Colorado, and Northcom. And now it's not just Alex Jones warning you, or General Stubblebine when I've had him on, former head of Special Forces. Now they admit the battle program. They admit the profile, because that means they're about to go with it or are considering it. When they finally start the PSYOP to unveil it with PR and package it with sicky sweetness, that means they have the safety off, the gun is to the Republic's head, and they're beginning to pull the trigger.
Well, what we need to be concerned about is what kind of circumstances do they set? What stage do they set to roll it out? You know, because they're going to create an emergency, I believe. I don't know what, but I think they'll use the guise of "we're here to help you."
Well, here's the problem. People are going to see through the psyop of "we're here to help you." And I believe it's going to turn into a shooting war, and I don't want that. And I believe in the end the globalists are going to lose on this.
That's the absolute last thing we want. Believe me, that is. We do not want to go up against these guys with the training that they have. That would not be a good scenario. And I don't want to see that happen.
Well, let me just say this: this is not Panama City, and if they try gun confiscation nationwide with the PSYOP, I wouldn't want to be the guys coming to get the guns, though.
No. I just don't want to see any bloodshed. You know, I really think the information war is where it's at. I really think exposing people. I think you know, your program, what you do, is just so important. We've got to get this information out. It's open source, or what I call open secrets, and it just needs to be made public so these people realize that they don't have the right, they don't have the authority to do what they're doing. FEMA doesn't have the authority. They're using, if you go into the history of all this, I don't know how much, we're running out of time, but, you know, they've used memorandums of understanding. They've used color of law. They've used programs to erode our legal system and turn it into the rule of man instead of the rule of man.
Well, that's what I was going to say, is that to claim that Congress has no involvement in emergencies now, I mean, in the founding documents, Congress is above the executive. Then they made the executive co-equal. Now they're claiming Congress isn't involved. Google it, folks. Congress not even allowed to see martial law plans. Mainstream news. I mean, here's a headline out of McClatchy newspapers dealing with the bailout. Dirty secret of the bailout, 32 words that none dare utter. And it says here, decisions by the Secretary pursuant to the authority of this act are non-renewable, reviewable, and committed to agency discretion and may not be reviewed by any court of law or any administrative agency. Folks, we're being robbed by the IMF, by the World Bank, and all of us are together in this against the globalists. We must say no, but we also need to let them know, Mr. Williams, that we're not going to FEMA camps, we're not taking forced inoculations, and we're not turning our guns in.
Well, that's absolutely the case. You know, anybody that would even allow that to happen to themselves or their family, it would be a huge mistake. You don't want to cooperate with that. It's not your responsibility. I support my best friends, the greatest people I've ever met, still friends with today, were people I've met in the military, some people still serving in the military. I have nothing but admiration.
When you talk to them, are they aware of what's going on?
Yes, they are.
That's the word I get from thousands of sources, is the majority of the military sees them hiring gangbangers, illegal aliens, felons. They know they're creating a criminal cadre. They're getting rid of all the esprit de corps. They're getting rid of all the great history, everything, and that the real troops are very upset.
They are. There's real concerns in the community, without a doubt. And, again, I really think we can stop this, and we can do it the way you're doing it, the way these state legislators are doing it.
Saying they're not going to go along with martial law, 21 states saying they're saying no to the globalist. I want to get you back on the show later this week, Mr. Williams, okay?
Sure, I'd be glad to.
All right, we'll be contacting you tomorrow. I'm sorry I didn't get the other calls. This was too important. Folks, I'm risking my life, my family. This stuff is real. I told you 12, 14 years before all this came out what was going to happen. I'm risking my life. This is real. They're going to steal everything you got unless you say no. God bless you all. Get out there and take on tyranny.